Okay, we're just going to do a shorter live stream today. We're going to be focusing on the step sequencer, which is one of my favorite tools inside Logic Pro. Something that they added in GarageBand for iOS before they brought it over. And when they did bring it over, they really added a lot of really cool features. So we're going to spend some time talking about probably 5 of my favorite things having to do with this. And then we'll see, because maybe it'll be 6. Maybe we'll run out of things at 4, but around 5 of my favorite things. So first of all, I'm going to push play here, and this is just a simple kick and side stick snare that you'll see. I just have 2 notes right there for each of those, but it doesn't sound like 2 notes. Here's what it sounds like. So this is one of my favorite things is when you actually program the chance function inside the step sequencer. So I've got the 2 notes. You can see I've expanded a few more of these options. I click on the little arrow there to show them. I've got velocity, the loop start end, the note repeat, and then the chance function. So with the first note, there's a 55% chance that it will be triggered. And then for the second one, there's a 20% chance. And so between those, we get a lot of different patterns. The one thing I do think is useful is that once you adjust the chance, it actually writes out the actual pattern that it's going to be using. So you can actually see that up here in the top section. That shows you what's going to be happening. And it will stay that way until we change the chance amount. So I could go to 54%, 40%, and it will do a new chance every single time I change it. And so we can create really cool patterns that way. And the more we do with this, it'll actually change it as we go. So for instance, if I added another 4 bars onto there, it's not going to be the same pattern. It'll be a different pattern for those with the chance. So I can actually do an entire loop, a drum pattern with just 1 note. So I could actually, for instance, pull that the loop start and end down to a single note. Let's up the percentage there a little bit. So if you're ever just like, you know what, I don't know what I want for this, maybe I just want something randomized, this is a great way to do that. And so you can do that easily by adjusting the loop and then also adjusting the chance. And then you can come up with all these random patterns. I love the chance function for that reason. And it's smartly designed. It's not just going to be random every time. That probably wouldn't work too well in most styles of music where things are just completely random. But at least with this, once you adjust the chance, it puts that in there, and then it'll be consistent from there on out. Cool. So that would be number 1, is just the ability to put in the chancing. The other thing that's tied in with this, of course, is the note repeat. And this is something that I think is really well designed and is pretty cool when we're doing it here. So for instance, let me just get another drummer here so I can leave that first one as it is. And, we load up Drum Kit Designer. Say that I've got a kick snare pattern that I want. And let's move this back to the beginning, just like that. Cool. So real simple pattern. With the note repeat, it allows me to change how many of those hits are going to happen inside that amount. So I can do like a double hit there. We could do all the way up to 16. And for some of these instruments, it actually adds a whole different pitch element to it, which is kind of cool. So say we're not using the snare for that one, but maybe we're using like the hi-hat. I could actually come through on the last one and just add a whole different element there. So we could put these in any number of different places just to change things up a little bit with some of those sounds. And they don't all have to be super intense. They can just, some of them just be, you know, doubles or triples. And that adds a whole different element. So the note repeat function being so easy to use, I think is something that I really like quite a bit with this. Okay, the other thing that I think is really powerful about this is that we don't have to have every single one of these looping out the same amount of time. So, you know, if we're working with a similar style and we have a template set up, we could do this pretty easily, but you know, just setting up our loop points. So, you know, if we know that the kick is going to be a similar pattern every time and the snare is going to be a similar pattern every time, we could actually come through with the loop start and end and layer it like this. So now those two things are just going this distance while the other ones below are going a longer distance. And on top of that, you know, we could change the whole division for these. So, you know, it's like we could set it up so that the kick here is really set to like the half note time. So we would do it like this. And that could be useful, for instance, if we wanted to do 3 bars of one thing and then maybe do like some sort of note repeat on the last one. That sounds stupid, but you get the idea. Cool. So they can all be moving at different rates, different time bases, different loop lengths. All of that stuff can be programmed pretty easily straight from here. Including if we wanted to switch something into like a triplet feel, we could do that pretty easily. I mean, that you can come up with some really intense different rhythmic things doing it this way. So I think that there's a lot of power in the timing of things as we go. Okay, so the next thing then, let's actually load up just a musical instrument for a second, and we'll do this with the retro synth. That's just a pretty straight ahead, for the most part, subtractive style synthesizer unless you switch to one of the other modes. But we can come in with this and also program notes and things with this. So we could actually do melodies and things like that. If we want, this is a good time maybe to show this other functionality, but right here, we can do notes, we can do melodic. We can come in and add any of the notes automatically if we want to, but we can also learn like this. So if I learn this, I can just type in, and those are like a scale that I wanted to put in there. Turn off the learn function, and then I can really easily do different chords and things if I want to. So, yeah. Let's change this to quarter notes. So we could do chords and melodies with this. We can do pretty much anything that we want, even with melodies like this. So we can do it kind of like the brush tool, but at the same time, all of the other things we looked at, just deleting those for a second. So one note across the board. The same thing applies with like the other things that we were looking at. So let's switch the tie here to the note repeat. So I can actually come through and change the note repeat options for this as well. So we get all of those same functions with the note repeat, with the chants, with the loop lengths. All of those things can work with melodic instruments just as easily as if you're working with percussive instruments. And so I think that's a really powerful way. If you want to do simple bass lines with this, we could certainly do that. Let's actually delete. Let's see, we'll have to. Okay, cool. If we did another learn function, I do more of a low note. And actually, let's do it backwards, because then I can have it the right order on here. Just like that. So now we have the octave there. And we do have the tie function as well, so you don't necessarily have to, it's like we could do longer notes if we want. Take that down to C. So we can set up a whole structure like this with it, where we're coming through and creating different note lengths. Let's do the note repeat for this last one. Just hit it to 16. You'll notice when I do the 16 divisions on that, it actually changes the pitch. If you don't want to change the pitch, you need to do lesser amount. Let's take this up one octave, or maybe I think we already have it up there. C1 is right up there. But you get the idea. So we can do melodic things with this. We can change the notes, so we can come through and do that. Now, I noticed when I did all this that one of them came through as channel pressure. So this is the next thing I wanted to look at. This actually works super well. In addition to notes, it works well with other MIDI data. So for instance, I could come through here and change some of the options here. So I could do the cutoff filter with this, and then, oh, I don't want to do that. So we're changing that, we're putting those steps on and off. But here's the actual automation data. So let's add another thing here and just make that all one note. And then on this layer, we could, I don't know if we can actually draw that in or not. But I know we can actually come through and do it like this. So we're changing the data of the filter. So let me change this note to a little bit higher so it's not quite so low. F2. So we can use different control values in MIDI in the step sequencer instead of just triggering notes. And I mean, these can be, same with all of this, we can do different lengths. And, or we can do, triplets. We can change it so that this is a completely different time value than the other thing. You can also see we can do the loop start and end. We can do a chance value to see if it doesn't always happen or not. We can do the start offset. We can do a stop or a step rate, and we can also skip. But you'll see we can't do things like the note repeat or things like that for automation values. So it doesn't have everything, but it does have quite a bit there that we can still do with this. So that makes it pretty powerful that we can actually have all the automation stuff written in a separate place, which I think makes this really powerful in the sense that, the automation now is a separate function than some of the notes and things. So that's pretty cool. Okay, I think that's actually the five of the things at least that I was thinking about. I know there's a couple of you watching right now. Any questions or any ways that you're using the step sequencer? Have any of you experienced the step sequencer much in your own music production? Let's see, while you're thinking about that or typing, let's start a new track here. I'm going to load up one of the other drum designers, the drum machine designer. There we go with that. We have the full empty kit loaded right now. Let's load up a whole kit. Cool. That's not working. Okay, cool. So this is another amazing tool within Logic. It's the drum machine designer, and it allows us to have like full-on sampled integration. And it also integrates with the other drum synth and things like that, depending on which one of the presets you're using. Essentially, you could come through and create just about anything you want with this. But it's an amazing tool that works really well with the whole step sequencer. So if I have this selected, we're going to open up our editor. You'll see step sequencer pops up. Here's the piano roll, the score, or the smart tempo, but this is the main one. So when you load up one of the presets, all of the instruments come patched there, so you can actually come through and you can hear them as well when you click on them, which is kind of cool. And so you can come through and do all of the techniques we were talking about now with the actual presets and things that are loaded here. So the one other thing that I like about this whole thing, and this would be the last thing, is up inside the actual timeline with the step sequencer region. I can go through here and option click to copy that. And it does become, so for instance, if I delete that one, they are now independent from each other. So we can make independent ones, and that's a way to copy them. Or we can come through here and extend the region. Now, if I delete one of those, you'll see it deletes all of them. So it's not making the steps longer. It's just repeating it for a longer amount of time. So I can make this, repeat on throughout a whole section of a song or something like that. I can also loop it using the L key on the keyboard if I don't want to necessarily extend that, but just want to have it loop out. It's essentially the same thing, because if I delete one of these, it deletes all of them and all of the loops and everything. So a few different ways to loop it out. So we have, okay, cool. But if you want to actually, create different sections of your song, then you can easily do that. I recommend doing a lot of the arrangement stuff here with the arrangement track. And the reason why I recommend that is because, say we have like a verse happening here, and I don't want to do it there. Load this one, have a verse happening. So just some sort of verse thing happening. And we get that all tied down. I know a lot of songwriters and things who get like the verse happening, and they're like, I don't know how to make a song out of this. Well, if you start to do this with the arrangement global track, and you then create like some form of this, which is a chorus, and you're like, okay, I've got these two building blocks. Well, then you can really easily option click on the verse thing and drag it over here, and it starts to populate the rest of your song with everything that was in the verse section. So now I can just drag the verse all over the place, and we can move the chorus out of the way. And then once we have a chorus and put something in here for the chorus track, then it would be something very similar. So I could do a chorus, say I've got a chorus part, and I can option click that. And I'm like, okay, let's put the verse, chorus, and then everything here, even if I've gotten audio recordings or the other instrument parts, all of that drags, even the automation drags with it. And so this is a great way to kind of manage your step sequencer tracks in the song form. And so you can move it around and not necessarily have to copy and paste everything. This is a great way to manage the tracks. Cool. So I think that all of these features start to really lock in together, and they become very useful because you're building the song not just with the step sequencer or with the arrangement global track or with the timeline, but they're all working together. And the one thing that doesn't happen, so say we're working on this song and all of a sudden this original verse, we're like, you know what, I really hated what I did here. I should have done something more along the lines of this, right? So all of a sudden we've changed it. It doesn't update it in the next one. So if you really wanted to do that, I would option click this first one into that place, click on the one that we're replacing and just delete it. And then it will delete everything vertically there, and then it will be replaced with the new one. So if you have vocals and things recorded, you wouldn't want to do that if they're all separate. You'd actually at that point just take this particular file, option click it to where you want it to go. And that way we'd have that replaced without necessarily messing up all the other arrangement stuff. Will this work without any split already in the audio regions? What do you mean without any? Oh yeah, so yeah, that would work. So if I had if I recorded, say I was adding a guitar part or something to this, and I recorded a guitar part all the way through these 4 sections, if I then option click the chorus and moved it down, it would automatically split the audio at the edges. And you'd still have the recordings underneath the edges, so I could pull that one down and then go to the edge of the guitar part and drag it back to the left a little bit in case I missed a beginning of a note or something. So it automatically splits everything and drags it exactly at the edge of these regions. That way it doesn't pull too much or mess up the timing. But then you can still adjust the left and right edges so that you have all of the parts there. Cool. Good question. But if you just drag it down, I've done this where I've got a verse vocal or something, and I drag it down, and then 5 minutes later I realize I didn't quite get the beginning consonant of the singer's voice, and I just have to drag that back to the left a little bit to pick that up. But if it's stepping on it, then I'll make another track so that the edges of the regions don't overlap each other. Can be an issue sometimes. But I think with all of this, it's really designed just to keep you organized and keep you moving forward in your projects. But I can't tell you how many times someone's like, you know what, let's make that verse twice as long. I want to add this section of the verse in here. And we have everything arranged, right? It's everything's already out here. And they're just, can we just double that amount of time right there? And when I'm using these arrangement tracks, it's just option click and everything goes across. And anytime I do that, the musicians are just oh, I thought we were going to have to take a break and come back and work on that. I'm no, we're all set. Just, let's just do the second part of the verse now. And if I need to, make adjustments or whatever, we can do that. But it is so easy to move things around. And they're oh, can we switch this chorus with that chorus? I'll go I'll go take a break for a few minutes. I'm no, hold on. It's swap, and we're done. So it's really powerful way to be able to integrate all that stuff. Cool. We're about at the end of what I was planning on today. Just like I said, a short live stream talking about my, the 5 favorite things with Step Sequencer. And I've now talked about more than 5, but that's cool. I think there's more to it than even what I looked at in this video. There's a ton of options down here in terms of moving things around. So for instance, another really interesting thing is this little arrow button right here, which means I can, here, let's go to the actual one that I just changed. So now I've got the top 808 going backwards in its time. We can also have them going one direction and then going backwards. That is a super cool sound, but it just changes. And then this one is like a shuffle. That's another way to randomize your sound, because it's going to be randomly picking different things to hit every time. So I think right now this is probably my favorite, this one, because it goes in one direction one way, and then these 2 hits right here, the sub kick and the kick 1, they're in time the first time through, and then the second time, because instead of being on the downbeat now, the kick 1, it goes, the 1 beat, and then it hits right on the 4 before the downbeat there. So it's going da 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 da. It's a real kind of a cool sound. So you get a lot of really interesting things happen with that. But so the playback is interesting. And then we have a lot of these other tools where, if I don't know if this sounds good or not, so we can just shift it over one beat, or one step rather. And we can hear it in different ways. With some of these, if we have things opening, like this one, I can make them all go up or down by the same amount. For like velocity, I could change all of the velocities if I want to. But it's really powerful, all the tools that we have in here. So, I think that if you're not currently using the step sequencer and you're doing anything with like a rhythmic element to it, this is one of those things that you should pick up quick. Perhaps the last thing I'll say is that there's also the functionality that works with the Logic Control app. So if you want, you can actually pull up I think I have it on my phone right now. I'll find out in a second. If I do, it's hidden away. So let me look under... Oh, there it is, the Logic Remote. And see if I'm on the same Wi-Fi. That is something you have to do. Oh, okay. I'm not. Let me change my Wi-Fi real quick so I can show you this. So you can actually program the step sequencer from the app, which is kind of cool. There it is. Let's see. There we go. It's going to ask me probably if I want to connect, since I haven't done this with my phone recently. Maybe. We'll see if it connects. Looks like it's having a little... it looks like it's thinking about it. There we go. Okay, so... I don't know if you can see this that well, but now on my phone I've got all of the same information attached into there. So if you're much more of like a tactile person, instead of wanting to have to use that, I can come through here and don't repeat. Yeah, so now we've got a thing going. This is way easier to do on my phone than it is to do with a mouse. So that's another really cool feature that you should be thinking about, is that if you want to do this, but you much prefer to have this, your thumbs moving around and doing it with finger tapping and all of that, the app allows you to get in there and do that quite easily. So I mean, iPad does the same thing. I don't have that in the room right now, but it's a bigger screen, so it gives you more of it. But I think with the phone, I like having this, the ability to tap, move things around, do that. Okay, I think that's where we're going to end the stream for today. Next week, I'm going to try something new with streams. We're going to be doing one every night for the whole week, and a 30-minute stream. Nighttime, my time. I know some of you are all over the world, and I don't know what time it'll be for each of you, but it'll be probably like 9 o'clock Mountain Standard Time in the United States, because I'm from Denver, Colorado. And if that works for you to jump on, that'd be awesome. If not, then check out the recording later, because we do post all of those after the fact. So thanks for watching. I know we just had a couple of you here today. That was perfect. But definitely check back for more of these streams as we do them this coming week. We're going to do a stream fest. Okay, thanks. See you later.